Friends, recently elections were held in Russia and the result was quite expected. Vladimir Putin won and took the reins of Russia in his hand for the fifth time. For the first time, he became the president of Russia in 2000. His first term was from 2000 to 2004. Then he retained power in the next election and his second term as the Russian president was from 2004 to 2008. His third term was from 2012 to 2018 and his fourth term was from 2018 to 2024. If you were paying attention, you would have noticed that Putin's first two terms were of 4 years and the last two terms were of 6 years. This is because until 2012, the presidential term in Russia was 4 years. Russia also has a constitution, and a constitutional amendment was introduced in 2008, which added 2 more years to the presidential term limit. This amendment was to be implemented from the next election, that is, the 2012 election. So, from 2012 election onwards, the term limit of the Russian president was increased from 4 years to 6 years. If you are still paying attention, you might have noticed one more thing. Putin was not the president of Russia from 2008 to 2012. Dmitry Medvedev, considered close to Putin, served as the president of Russia from 2008 to 2012, while Vladimir Putin became the prime minister. Why was this the case? In Russia, the president plays a central role in politics, holding the highest office in the country, while the prime minister holds the second highest office. In Russia, people directly elect the president through voting. Then, why was Putin unable to continue as president from 2008 to 2012? Because he had already served 2 consecutive terms from 2000 to 2008. As I mentioned, Russia has a constitution, and according to it, no person could serve as president for more than 2 consecutive terms at that time. Consequently, Putin was ineligible to contest the presidential elections in 2008 due to his previous 2 terms from 2000 to 2008. Therefore, Dmitry Medvedev became president and appointed Putin as prime minister. Medvedev continued Putin's policies, while Putin, despite holding the role of prime minister, was believed to maintain de facto control over Russia. To illustrate this situation in a light-hearted manner, it's as if the constitution fired Putin in 2008, indicating he was no longer the king. However, Putin responded by becoming the kingmaker. From 2008 to 2012, he strategically placed his close aide in the president's position, paving the way for his return to the presidency in the future. How? Well, the Russian constitution forbids anyone from becoming president of Russia for more than 2 consecutive terms. Therefore, the constitution was slightly modified. A constitutional amendment was introduced in 2008, which would take effect from the next election, meaning from 2012 onwards. According to this amendment, no person could serve as president of Russia for more than 2 consecutive terms from 2012 elections onwards. 2012 election onwards, meaning that terms before 2012 would not be counted. It's like, forget what happened before 2012. Here's what happens after 2012. Let's count the terms afresh from 2012 elections. That's why Mr. Putin's last 2 terms didn't count. This means that now he could become president of Russia for 2 consecutive terms after 2012. And obviously, he didn't let go of that opportunity. Dmitry Medvedev's term ended in 2012. Then, again, from 2012 to 2018 and from 2018 to 2024, Mr. Putin served as the president of Russia. Hold on, wait a minute. How could Putin become president again in 2024 after completing 2 consecutive terms from 2012 to 2024? Didn't the 2008 amendment raise the term limit by 2 years, enabling the president to remain in office for 6 years, but strictly not more than 2 consecutive terms. Meaning, Mr. Putin couldn't have been president after 2024. However, Mr. Putin is now president until 2030. How come? It's due to the 2020 amendment. The prohibitions were essentially nullified by Shri Putin. The 2020 amendment states that from 2024 election onwards, no person can serve as president of Russia for more than 2 consecutive terms. It's like, forget what happened before 2024. Here's what happens after 2024. Let's count the terms afresh from the 2024 elections. Thus, once again, Mr. Putin's 2 consecutive terms from 2012 to 2018 and from 2018 to 2024 will not be counted. This means that from 2024 onwards, he can become president of Russia again for 2 consecutive terms. The term limit remains 6 years. So from 2024 to 2030, 1 term, and then from 2030 to 2036, 2nd term. So as of now, Mr. Putin can legally remain the president of Russia until 2036. I say legally because in Russia, what Putin wants becomes the law of the land. In Russia, his deeds are not termed illegal. While small leaders may contend with mere mortals, big leaders like Putin contend directly with nature. To remain president, Putin simply needs to stay healthy. His main challenge is aging. Presently, he is 71 years old, which is 10 years younger than Biden. However, unlike his rival Biden, the stage is set for Putin to potentially be president for life, similar to his friend Xi Jinping. Common people adhere to law, but powerful people often shape the laws to suit their interests. Due to all of this, some people call Putin a modern-day Tsar, the Emperor of Russia. What is your take on this?